Welcome to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga and wellness world and what we've been coaching our clients through. I'm here with my fellow coaches, Carol and Terri. I'm Bridget, and we are wrapping up the end of the year. Very exciting. Happy almost New Year. And we've been talking about goals. We talked about goals a couple weeks ago. If you didn't catch our episode about both goal setting, I can't remember if these were two different ones or the same one, but goal setting, and then also about planning your meetings out for 2026. I think really good sort of end of year, new year content. So go back and listen to the last few episodes. And Carol was going to kick us off with a little interesting dilemma that her clients have been running into in this goal setting stuff. Carol, tell us what's been
Oh,
happening.
thanks, Bridget. That was great. Yeah, I've been working with several of my clients on setting their 2026 goals. And it seems easy for them to set like a revenue target or a profit target. But then we get to the personal target, and I even give examples, like maybe it's how many days a week you'd like to work in the business. Maybe there's a certain target salary that you'd like to make out of the business. Maybe it's a number of vacations you'd like to have throughout the year. And I let them go for a week to think about it, and they come back and nothing.
Cricket.
And I'm like, why
Oh,
is this so difficult? So I'm just sort of it's a curiosity to me that it's like it's super easy to do like a number, but then when they think about themselves and the lifestyle that they want to have, sometimes it's really, really difficult. And then Bridget was saying like that's the easiest one for me. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to talk about today. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I was saying that's the easiest one for me. I I think that, but I am trying to remember if back in earlier versions of my business, in different times in my growth and evolution as a business owner, if I was probably in the same boat. It probably was easier. Like you're just so much like head down, just like we've got to do this, we've got to make this amount of money, we've got to get this many members. And I can imagine a time when I maybe felt the same way. I am a fully remote studio owner, so it is probably a little bit easier for me to be like, this is the lifestyle that I want. But I think this is so interesting. Terri, do you have any ideas why this is hard for business owners?
Well, I can tell you personally, I knew fucking A how much I had to make because I had no safety net.
Like you personally, yeah,
Me
totally.
personally.
Yeah.
So I always, always, always had a personal goal
Yeah.
because this was it. It was just me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah.
So if I didn't make money, if I didn't pay myself, then my rent didn't get paid. My electricity didn't get paid.
Hmm.
I didn't eat, right? So I do feel that some of this starts with the mindset coming into the business, right?
Totally.
And we talk about this a lot. It is a business. Now, there are those exceptions where if you're in a dual income household or you have wealth or assets or resources from something else, and you're like, I'm not dependent upon this revenue. However, I have had clients in the past are also working full-time, in some cases executive level jobs, in other cases manage whatever it is, and they open a yoga studio and they're saying, well, I'm not going to pay myself because I have this other job. And then they get really frustrated because now all of a sudden they realize this is a full-time job. And
Mm.
now I have basically two full-time jobs, which means I'm working for no money over here. So, and then this is just my personal just take on it, is that I think it all starts with that mindset of what type of business this is. If it's a passion project, fine, there are those out there. But if your passion project versus being passionate about the business are two different things. If you're passionate about the business, but yet you still have to pay yourself and you're not thinking about that, that it established, that's just to me, that just is like the foundation, which kind of goes back to why are you opening the business in the first place? And we often see this as a deterrent or something that hasn't been thought through is ideally when you open a business and brand new. Now, I was fortunate I bought an existing business. So there was already, it was doing about $100,000 a year, which is like $10,000 a month. It's not nothing. It's not a lot, but it was something. But if you're starting at zero, it's going to take a while to build up some revenue and some money in the bank. So ideally, you should have at least bare bones 3 months operating expense in the bank, ideally 6 months. And that should include paying yourself. And even if you don't have to pay yourself because you have other income, in my opinion, you should start from day one with thinking like this. I'm going to set money aside as if I was paying myself. Because like someone like in Bridget's position now, her manager's full time. So she's paying a full-time manager and still taking money out of the business. So if you're like in a position where you don't need to take money out, I would still treat it that way because that way you have that money there and it looks, okay, I am taking this money and maybe use that money for something else. But to not take money out that you're allocating for yourself, I think is where a lot of this businesses fail because they haven't thought that through and they just open and hope they're going to pay it on credit cards.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that what can happen, and especially if you are not thinking in a way that could even get you an idea for what your personal goal would be, it's a like it's a cycle that doesn't stop unless you stop it. Like
Oh, I
you
like that.
see that so much with business owners where like they don't pay themselves for years. And it's like that make that unacceptable to yourself. Like you should consider that unacceptable. And I do think that I think we're getting to the root here, Carol, of like why that is. I think they are in that cycle of just like not even thinking about that when make that your number one. Just imagine for a minute that it's your number one priority and see what you come up with. And you don't have to have you don't have to go from zero, like Terry saying, to $10,000 a month for yourself. But if you had to think even small, what could you pay like what would be an exciting amount of money? And I think also people get in this mindset too, to your point, Terry, of like, oh, I've got other income, my partner supports the family, whatever. But it's like, okay, then what are you doing this for? I assume your time could be well spent in other places, whether it's like just, having some time to yourself or taking care of, your family, whatever it is, like make that worth your time. Your time is valuable. And yeah, that's what you should think. Carol, how are you advising these people after the second time, the second or third week they come back with nothing?
Well, and these are all really good points. I think, it's, I think part of it is us as coaches, we see the potential and we see the bigger picture and the way that you can create the life you want to have if you set these goals and targets. But if you don't, if you're just sort of going about your day to day, just like in the grind without thinking about these things, again, that cycle that you're talking about, Bridget, is where you get stuck. And so I think we can see, well, would you like to run your business remotely? Would you like to, so I do sort of throw out some ideas and they're usually like, yeah, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And even it might start with like the smallest thing, like what is the thing in your business that you dislike doing the most?
Yeah, totally.
Let's make enough money to pay somebody else to do that. Like, let's offload something. It's just, it can be as simple as that, but there is that cycle and mindset shift that needs to happen. And so it can take a little digging and really kind of, because a lot of my clients are making money. It's not about even paying themselves at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, well, to say like that I do want to run my business remotely, or I don't know, just I'm come up with all different things, but trying to give them options to like, let's work for this. Yeah,
A
Terry?
good one that made me think, Carol, was when you said they're doing well and it's not about money. Say, yeah, I am taking vacations, but I will challenge that thought because I've made this with a couple of clients. Because when they take a vacation, they're not taking a vacation.
Totally.
That's a good
They're
Yeah.
point.
still on their phone, on email, checking in every day. Oh, if you need me, and they're still fielding questions. And because that's what I was working towards. But, I remember on Christmas, I was here in Dayton visiting my sister and my brother-in-law for Christmas. And I kept, because they were like, they, anyway, I would sneak up to my room to check my phone
Oh
to make
yeah, I've
sure
been
what,
there.
and it's like you would think I was sneaking away to shoot up or something or snort crack or whatever because I was just like, no, I don't want them to know that I'm going up to check the wait list and make sure people,
Yeah.
so that the thing I would challenge make to those of you that are you really taking a vacation? Are you like I am unplugged, remote, you cannot get a hold of me for 2 weeks
Yeah.
kind of thing?
It's a
That
really
is
And
good
part
then
of
point.
maybe
my
in that case, if you need to, because there always are true emergencies, one person, make it nobody in the business. Maybe it's your bestie, maybe it's somebody, and
yeah,
say, if there is a true emergency, you
yeah,
call this person.
yeah,
And then
totally.
that person is the one that determines, right? So, I mean, that's a big thing is like, are you truly on vacation? So challenge that thought. If you're taking vacations, is it really a vacation? Or are you just running your business from your lounge chair poolside, which is nice, but you're still mentally connected, right? And then another thought I had when you were saying, Carol, start small, is where do you start? And if you're in that cycle of I'm not paying my what, I advise my clients with this, newer clients all the time is it's like it's for me, year one was very, very simple. I was paying myself, now I'll tell you straight up, I was only paying myself like, I don't know, $28,000 a year. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to cover what I needed to make, right? So that I wasn't, you know, not paying my responsibilities. I took my expenses for the month, what they were, I divided that by my membership price, and that was my sole goal for the first
Yeah.
year was I'm going to get 100 members. I
Mm-hmm.
had 35 when I bought the studio. So I was going to get 100 members because if I had 100 members paying my membership price, that covered my monthly expenses, including my salary, all the teachers, payroll taxes, all of everything. And then everything over that, like drop-ins, class card, intros, all of that was actually profit. So if you're
Yeah,
thinking, I don't know where to start small, one target, and focus
totally.
all your energies on there. And I'm happy to say I hit that target in 8 months.
Oh, good job, Terry.
And I think
Um,
part of it was because I was laser
laser
focused
focused. Yeah.
on that
Mm-hmm.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
let anything distract me from that. So, and what I did was not rocket science, guys, is I should say humans, is it's everything we coach towards. It's very
Mm-hmm.
simple. It's not a secret. I'm not going to say it's not difficult and challenging because it is, but the path to get there is very step by step. Okay, mic drop.
Yeah, it was.
I'm trying to not turn my microphone on because Greg's doing construction again in the back. But I was just going to share that my personal goal, I do have a raise goal. I want a 30% raise. Actually, I'm going for a big raise this year for myself. And I want to be able to take 3 months fully off. Like you will not see me, you will not hear from me. I mean, they hear from me every day, pretty much. Not every day. Right now it's a lot because we're doing a new website and stuff, but yeah, 3 full months, no Bridget. That's my
Consecutive?
2026 goal.
Are we talking consecutive months off?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The plan.
Love it. Carol, what's your goal?
Oh God. I haven't been doing my own.
Yeah.
Me on the spot, Terry.
What would you like it to be? Since we're, kind of.
Oh my God, Terry. I don't know. I have a few balls in the air here. So, and I don't know if I
Few
can
balls in
talk
the
about
air.
it in,
Very mysterious. I can't wait to hear what the balls in the air are.
you know, I guess I am a little mysterious in that way. I
You are
don't
very
like to,
mysterious,
I don't
Carol.
like to
Just
talk
this
about
and
things
that.
until they're really, and come to fruition. But yeah.
It's so mysterious. I am dying to know now. I am, you've got me hooked, Karen.
Oh God.
I am,
Yes.
oh God. What else? What else about personal goals? Any other things we need to say about it?
Well, I
God,
think
I
it's
keep
kind
me.
of a segue to what I was talking about before we, went live,
Yeah.
is coming to that mindset
Hmm.
and how you approach your business, because this has come up recently a couple of times, and I know we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past, and it still keeps coming up. Why? Because people will people, and typically your single largest line item on your P&L are your staff expenses, however that shakes out. I had a conversation with a new client. I was, talking about staff and their employees, but then, oh, wait, it turns out that when they made the transition to employee, as per their financial advisor saying, look, your teachers are employees, they are not independent contractors. So I will preface this by saying that that is a decision that you as an owner can make, predicated on what are the, particular laws and things like that in your situation. So obviously it always is a decision to make, but it's a decision you should make with someone who knows the laws, not just I'm going to make them independent contractors because I can't afford to pay payroll taxes. And I will just say, hashtag Terry's dad, if that's the mindset you're going in, you're screwed from the start, right? Because you're basically, it's like you're not valuing the fact that employment is a good thing, right? So bar that, if your guy person says, yeah, you can make them independent contractors as long as they're doing this, 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 and this. Well, in this case, there's my legal disclaimer. In this case, their financial person said, nope. Their CPA was like, nope. They are, by definition, in this state, employees. So they made this transition a couple of years ago, but there are a couple of teachers who pitched hissy fits about it because they didn't want to lose their write-offs for teaching yoga and refused to become employees. Unfortunately, the owner capitulated to them. And I think sometimes that's the other mindset, is that when it comes to decisions and things like that, and maybe this is a woman thing, this is definitely a personality, it can be a personality thing. All that goes into that is the fear. But you're running your business as it's supposed to be run. There should be no fear around that, right? And if you're told straight up they're employees and people hold out and say, no, I want to be 1099, and you let them be 1099, that is a problem for your business. because what happens if you get audited? Then all of a sudden you're hit with back to, this is what happened to a studio. That's why everybody in New England became employees back when I first started teaching back in the New England area, because one studio got audited and was like, nope, they're employees. And what triggered it was something very simple. One of their teachers was filing for unemployment insurance, filing for unemployment because they had another job that they lost, and they were tapping into the benefits that they should get because that's what you pay into as an employee. And they said, "Where else do you work?" And she listed Yoga Studio XYZ. And the state went Yoga Studio XYZ. Well, wait a second. We don't have any record of Yoga Studio XYZ. So that triggered an audit with the state, which of course triggered an audit with the IRS. And then all of a sudden they went, excuse us, your teachers are all employees. You now owe us tens of thousands of dollars. Now, fortunately, they worked out a plan and they were able to sell. So this is why it is incumbent upon you as the owner. If that's the requirement, you just have to tell the staff person, I'm sorry, this is not an option. By law, you're an employee, and if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Then you can't teach here. And that's, I think, where people get afraid.
Are there instances though that you could have, like we do pay tiers and have
Mm-hmm.
employees, and then I think there might be special one-offs where like
There
that would
could
not be
be.
somebody that I would, have on the schedule regularly.
Right.
Then that would be a moment where they could be an independent contractor. They do just come
100%.
in and teach, just to, yeah, just lay that groundwork too. That could be a possibility, but it's for somebody that's there all the time and is regularly on your schedule and is expected to do X, Y, and Z,
Yep.
that's
That
a
was the
different.
difference. The people that
Mhm.
were holding out had regular spots on the schedule and we're being told when to do, but that was the thing in the studio. Because I did check, like anybody, like I had subs I had people on my sub list.
Mhm.
They were ICs, they were independent contractors. Because it's like, hey, Carol, I've got this class. Can you teach it? Oh, sure, I'll be
Yeah.
happy to teach that for you. So it was totally random. There are people that most of them had been teachers in the past. They all
Mhm.
had keys. It was
I
simple.
do want to say that I have heard, again, you just have to talk to an employment lawyer
Yeah.
in your state because I know that that is not okay in certain states either. Like,
Yep.
even your subs have to be employees.
Yep.
It's one of the most annoying fucking things. But it is definitely, they'll get ya for that too. So that's definitely just a little disclaimer and reminder. I do
Yeah.
think I think you're exactly right, Terry. It's one and the same of the mindset of not being able to set, and not that everybody who's having trouble setting their personal goals also has this problem of capitulating, but it's very, I would say, common overlap. And it's this way in which we put other people in front of our own needs and the needs of our business and the fear of like not upsetting people and like all this stuff that we all know. Sorry, loud. Um, oh, that's good. We all know that we're supposed to work on and we're not supposed to be like people pleasers to the max and we're supposed to, prioritize ourselves and all this stuff. And it creeps up all the time. I've done so much like work on this with my therapist and my mindset work and all this stuff, and it still creeps up on me. And so you are not alone if you are feeling this way. All of my clients deal with this, men and women. Though of course, yes, it is a common trope amongst women, I will say. I have one client I wanted to share. She's amazing. She she's been working really hard since we started working together on switching out of this mindset, and she calls it putting on her CEO hat. So if she
Mhm.
notices that she's doing it and like sort of being the people pleaser and it comes up all the time, and then she'll be like, and then I just was like, okay, I'm gonna put my CEO hat on now. And then she literally just does this and then she tries again and she says, what would this EO version of me do because she recognizes now more than ever that often the little desires and requests and whatever of the people in her business do not always align with what is best for the health of her business. And so, yeah, just try your little CEO hat on next time you find yourself there. It might be a helpful little trick.
I love that idea. Yeah, it's like becoming, you have to decide to be that person. And, this kind of goes back to the goal setting too. Like, what would future you, if you had everything in place and like the right people in place, how would you be acting? And you have to become that somehow. So like bridging the gap, if it's putting your hat on, I love it. Just working to become that person and create the life that you want. Um,
Yeah, because
yeah.
that's the benefit of owning your own business. And I think sometimes if that's not resonate with you, then that could be a thought, a pause. It's like, and I did have a client one time after working with her. She finally came to the realization, she's like, this is not for me. I thought it was, but this is not for me. And then you know what? That's okay.
I love
You
That's
that.
know,
clarity.
That's amazing.
and
I
she
love
was
that.
really down on herself about it. And oh my gosh, she's a lovely human being. And I just said, you know what? Don't be down on yourself. That is real, like self-realization. And you tried it. How many people out there think one day I'd like to have my own business and never ever do it because of fear? I said, you tried it. You gave it your all. I wish you'd got to, and she even said this, I wish I discovered you guys sooner. And she was at the end of the day, she's like, I think it's best if I just shut down and then we're like, and then we had a plan for that. And while some people might see that as a failure, I don't. I see that as someone who had the courage to try something, to do something different that she thought she wanted to do, and realized that it really wasn't for her. Now, I often wonder if she had, whether it was us or anybody had someone in her corner from the start, if that might have been a different situation 2 years later. I don't know, but at least at that time, it was the right decision for her. And we worked through how to exit and shut the business down ethically, as opposed to just because I've seen this happen, um, where the owner just seriously locks the door, puts a note up, and walks away and doesn't tell anybody. The landlord, the staff. No, this is way back, like way, way back. I go in New York that did that, the Big Room Studio in New York. Anyway, so I think that's part of it is that's not a failure. You try. And then who knows, maybe 5 years, 6 years, 8 years from now, it's like, now that I've learned, I think I have the whatever it is, and I'll give it another try. Who knows? Mindset,
Yeah,
knowing
I
your
think that's
why,
amazing.
knowing your why.
Yeah.
Why,
Yeah, I think
what's
that's
the real
amazing.
why?
Definitely not a failure. Think about how much she learned about
Yeah.
herself.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think. Kind of going back to the other thing about the whole teachers, and I know we've talked about this stuff before. I have a post going out, uh, I think next week. I schedule my posts out. And a situation where a client had a new hire, wasn't quite, owner came in, was upset by some of the things that the owner saw this person doing or actually not doing, which was doing her homework at the front desk, as opposed to not doing what she was supposed to do. And the owner was obviously upset by that. But then when we unpacked it a little bit, I'm like, well, it kind of boils down to that she went through their hiring process and was hired because the person who does the hiring felt that she'd be a good person. But however, So then I'm like, well, is it really a hiring process? Is it a hiring failure or is it a training failure? Because if she made it through the hiring process, then to me it seems like somehow she didn't get trained properly. So it wasn't the person that failed in this case, it was the system that failed. So kind of going back to what is the hiring process? And Carol, you had something to say about that before we jumped on.
Yeah, we were, you and I had discussed one of the owners in the group with like they have a really robust, even just teacher application process.
Mhm.
And I think it's fantastic. And there's an audition, going along with that if you are chosen based on your application. And then I got on a call with another studio owner and we were talking about how, she had some people that were interested in teaching. So she just, her typical process is she lets them teach a class as their audition. And I, you know,
Clutched
that's
your
not,
pearls.
I clutch my pearls, yeah. And it's the mindset of like business wise, this is your product, and now you've thrown somebody that you have no clue how they conduct themselves with their, tone. They may have never even taken a class or been in your business in some way, and they're just now in charge of your product all of a sudden. And even for one class, as a business owner or I had to like stop her and say, okay, let's talk about this because the the results of even one class, your regulars would
Yeah.
probably forgive it if it was,
Yeah.
really terrible. They know that, oh, this is maybe an audition or whatever. But think about a new person on their first, second, third, visit to your business and now they have no context and they just may have had a really poor experience because you didn't vet the person. And so we had to kind of go down that rabbit hole of like business wise, there's some better ways, there's better systems, and the hiring process does really matter.
Hugely.
I actually was thinking that this is also related. I mean, of course, that's why we're talking about it all, but I think that the business owner that lets that happen, which I'm not judging. I did that way back in the day before I got my head on straight. Terri did it. She's raising her hand. Um, the business owner that does that, and I know because I was this business owner, is also the business owner that creates an environment that people pitch a fit about a new employment designation and know correctly
Mhm.
that you're going to capitulate to them. And it was from the very beginning when you have a process like you were describing, Terri, of like, this is serious fucking business. You are going to audition, you are going to, you're going to go through this process. That makes it so clear from the beginning to anyone stepping through your doors that you don't put up with nonsense. You aren't going to be, and I know because I put up with so much nonsense before. And now I do not get any nonsense because people know based on my processes, my onboarding, my hiring, they know from the beginning that I am serious. And I don't want to hear their little complaints about everything. They also know that I love hearing from them and I want to collaborate on ideas and I want to hear what's working for them and what's not, and that I'm totally available to them in certain ways. And I don't get anyone pushing back on new policies because I haven't set a precedent that that would ever be appropriate. And I used to get everybody push back no matter what I
Oh,
said.
I remember those days, Bridget. I
Yeah, I
remember
know.
some of those phone calls.
I had to text Terry crying and everything I did. They were so mad at me, especially in that middle ground when you are trying to go from the business owner who puts up with bullshit to the one who doesn't. That middle ground, it can be the scariest part because you still have all these employees that think of you as someone who puts up with bullshit, and you're trying to do the stuff that makes you someone who doesn't put up with bullshit, and that is a big clash. I have a pretty much 100% different staff. And I do have a couple who held on and actually like working for me so much more now because they have clear expectations. They know that there's clear boundaries in place. They know what to expect at all times. Um, so yeah, that was just what came to mind when we were talking about this hiring shenanigans.
Well, a couple of thoughts I had. One is, I don't think the studio owner does it, and it just came to me. I think this is would be a really good one because I do have one client that does it not in this particular way, but so you fill out the application. Okay, you fill out the application, and just here's like maybe like a real perfect in a perfect world kind of thing. Fill out the application. And then, okay, oh, okay, looks like this Carol person could be a good fit. Next step before booking the audition, how about this? Here's a 1 week pass
Oh yeah, we do that.
and come in and take as many classes as you can. And once you've done that, then you can schedule your audition.
Yep.
Because I think that that's important. I think that a lot of times it's people, you're just hiring people and they're not even, haven't even come and taken a class at your studio. I can tell you back when I was out, uh, right after Bikram training, the place I was going to go teach it that fell through at seriously like the night before graduation. So I left my very good corporate job to become. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I just started going to Bikram studios in the San Francisco Bay Area and taking class and introducing myself to the owner. Right. And so that I think that's an important thing to do. And then they can book their audition. And then from
Yep.
there, because I think having that interim step where they come to the studio, see if it's going to be a good fit for them, see how you actually teach, then it gives them an idea of that what even if it's like an OG Beacom class. I mean, there are different ways and different things and tones and things like that. So that was my one thought.
Definitely.
And then the other thought that I had, and when you said something about they know not to come with me with the petty stuff, Bridget,
Hmm.
you made me think of, have you implemented the 131 with your team?
With my manager, yes.
Okay, because so the 131 this is a great way of putting, rather than people coming to you with all these problems, you empower them to come to you with solutions. So the 131 is first identify what is the problem. And sometimes that can be the hardest thing. You think it's this problem, but when you unpack it, it's actually this problem. So first come up with a clear definition of what the problem is. Then give me 3 solutions to that problem. And then finally tell me the solution you think is the most applicable. Because that is a very empowering way with your team, whether it's even with a front desk person or a teacher who's not in a leadership role. It's like, I see that, okay, implement it company wide. It's 131. If there's a problem, tell me what it is. Give me 3 solutions. Tell me which one you think is best. Don't just bitch about it. Because
Yeah,
that can really help
totally.
squash all of that. So, Carol, you're emphatically nodding.
Yeah, I had a clients who were like their leadership meeting became just it's
Bitch
like we
fest.
spent
Problem
20
dumping.
minutes about like
Hmm.
complaining about this, that, and the other, and we implemented that, and it made a huge difference because sometimes you do just need a vent. I understand that. But like when your leadership meetings are going 2 and 3 hours because it's just bitching about something, and also to recognize like, is this really a problem?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
sometimes people just they make something a problem that isn't a problem. But when they're forced to
totally.
come up with a solution, then it actually tells us like, well, maybe it isn't that big of a deal. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
complaining. So I think that's very, very powerful to implement. with your team. And I just wanted to, just as a side note, the like an audition for a teacher, that could be 15 minutes. Like you don't even have to do
Totally.
class
Yeah,
and
I
just like
totally agree.
I feel like I would know in the first 5 minutes and just
Yeah.
like quietly like get through the rest of whatever it was
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there as a,
Yeah, I have a great story for that is again before I tighten up my hiring because it was relatively quote unquote easy back in the day when I only had Bikram yoga. It's like, hey, you went to Bikram yoga, okay, come teach for me. That's the way it
Hmm.
used to be, but I quickly learned that that's not necessarily the case. So I had someone come, she'd been practicing in my studio, lovely person, and I said, great, why don't you come teach my 6:30 a.m. See how it goes. And she was a little nervous. I said, I said, oh, you'll be fine. I was also not reading some of her body language as well.
Mm.
And so she came, I had to take over.
Yeah, that's rough.
you're like, oh, shoot, go
It
over
was
there.
Just go ahead and sit down.
bad. And it again, because it was 6:30 a.m. was all regulars. There were no new
Yeah, yeah.
people.
There's
And
no
I
new
was
people.
there
Yeah.
and I would like some of the people that had been practicing my studio and even before I owned it, had been practicing there since we opened, and even at the other studio where the previous owner had one location and then opened us. So, I mean, I've known these people for like years and years. You would not believe the looks in the mirror I were
Oh, I
getting.
bet they were like,
I believe they were, I give them a shit ton of credit because they hung in there.
yeah.
But the
Hmm.
looks of sheer relief because again, they hauled their asses out of
God.
bed to take a 6:30 a.m.
Yeah,
class. They
yeah,
want a
yeah.
class, right? So I learned the hard way that, you don't,
Mm.
an audition doesn't have to be a full-on class. In fact,
Oh, yeah, 100%. Oh my God, how many times? I don't know if you guys have experienced this many times, but even when it's a shorter audition, the pain of sitting through
yeah,
it once you already know the situation.
yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. I was just going to add that I have them come into the studio. This is for both front desk and teachers. And for front desk, I mentioned this before on the roundup if you missed it, or no, maybe not on the roundup. I mentioned it in a post I did, um, but on our Facebook group, but I have them send me a 2-minute video of themselves just talking, which also saves you from that half an hour interview where you know within 30 seconds if they're a good fit, and then you have to sit there being like, yeah, so tell me about your other jobs that you've had and like make up questions when you know you can just wrap it up. Um, and of course,
I,
the 2 minutes doesn't tell you everything, but it tells you there's some people who you're just like, that is not a
yeah.
fit.
I didn't do a video. I did a phone interview.
Yeah,
Particularly with
that's a
the
good
front
choice
desk.
too.
I
Yeah.
mean, teachers, it
Hmm.
was much easier because I pretty much didn't
Yeah.
hire, I never hired a teacher I absolutely didn't know personally, right? It just was the way it was. But front desk, I did a 15-minute phone interview because I wanted to see how they sounded on the phone, and that was really telling. The other thing is, this is just that I had, let's say you have a scheduled interview, and I'm just going to throw this out to everybody. Think of like an audition is like an audition. Have you ever watched any show or anything about, a Broadway or whatever? It's like they come in to be or not to be. Okay, next.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
If it's really bad, you could just say, okay, thank you for your time today. And you don't have to put up with it for 15 minutes just because it's booked for 15 minutes or half an
Yeah,
hour
you're right.
doesn't mean you have to. You say, okay, thank you very much. We'll let you know. You can do that kind of like, Broadway. And the other
Yeah.
thing is years ago when I was still in corporate, we got a new HR, head of HR, like bigwig HR, right? CE, Chief Executive, I don't know what his title was, but his name was Tom. And I really like Tom a lot because one of the first things he did as our new head of HR was we had at the time 39 distribution centers within the continental United States. He went in his first 6 months and spent time at every single distribution center, getting to know the manager, the GM, the ops manager, the sales manager, the team. He'd walk the warehouse. We had a meeting with him. So he really got to know what we did and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was really cool. But the other thing I remember talking about is, and he was professional HR, all the things, all the alphabet soup after his name, all that stuff. And he said that typically with an interview, within the first 5 minutes. He said, we really do know. It's like, that's why we say first impressions matter, because he said within the first 5 minutes, you know whether you're going to hire them or not. And if it's an hour interview, you spend the next 55 minutes either confirming your initial feeling or finding something that overturns it. But he said your decision is typically made within the first 5 minutes. So think about that when you're talking about classes, right? Because when you think about that first visit flow and that first experience, it's like what's happening the minute they walk in the front door, because that's when people are making that judgment about whether or not they want to come back. They don't know it yet, but that's all plays into that decision.
So true.
Well, I just really kind of went over here.
What else?
Well, I mean, we can talk forever, but
I know we could.
so let's do real quick, go around, and again, because we've dumped a lot of information, and maybe just like, what's the one thing, if you were listening to this and you were, what would the one takeaway, what would the one thing you would take from this to apply to your business if you were listening to this? I'm just curious. I just thought that would be interesting.
I think my thing would be that, like we always talk about, you're the creator of this game, you know?
Mm,
And so you can really start to envision the lifestyle that you want. And, it might not be a year's time or 5 years' time, but like think about it and get clearer about that. Like, because the possibilities are vast. And mindset plays a huge part of this. It just triggered something for me because I was talking to a client and we were talking about like a MRR goal. And at first he was like, I don't know, I just can't see that. And I said, well, why not? Like I just kind of
mhm.
challenged that. And he's like, you know what? I need to change my mindset. It's because I haven't seen it before, doesn't mean it can't happen. So I would just sit with yourself, think about where your mindset is, and know that the possibilities are very big.
Yeah. I second that. And I have two. One is that I really want to know what Carol's personal goals are for 20. And my second takeaway is yeah, putting your CEO hat on, like really figuring out how to put your CEO hat on and knowing that you can do it, even if you are the biggest people pleaser in the entire world and you are so scared of rocking the boat, which I know so many yoga studio owners who start out that way. I think it's actually very common in our industry for that specific type of person to get into yoga. Even if that is where you are starting, I know for a fact, I promise you that you can put on your CEO hat. You can embody a CEO. It just might take a little time, just baby steps, get a coach or do it yourself. But either way, baby steps, you can do it. Put that CEO hat on.
Yeah, and if you want a great movie about baby steps, what about Bob? Anybody ever see that movie, Bill Murray? Have you ever
Yeah.
seen What About Bob with Burl Murray? It's
Yeah.
baby step and Bill Murray and oh gosh, he was in Close Encounters, Richard Dreyfuss. Hysterical movie. If you haven't seen it, it's really cute. I think for me, definitely for me, and I've known this forever. um, is hiring. I'd get way better, like the client we were mentioning, I would have
Mhm.
a way better hiring process, um, and tighten that up and the expectations kind of thing. And then I also think that I think also for me too, what would have been really great is that 131. So
It's
rather than
nice.
just
Yeah.
getting really irritated when people bring in like, why can't in the being and say, hey, okay, here's this, I want to do this instead. Because I think that would have been helpful for the person, my client, not my client, my staff, and I think it would have helped me as an owner too, to realize that, sometimes other people have really great ideas and not being a little bit like, oh, I'm the one, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's like feeling like
Yeah.
my ego would be bruised because someone knows something more than I do, kind of thing.
Big time.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that 131 would have been a really good tool for me. Um, and also having a good venting buddy, as Carol said. It is
Yeah.
okay to vent. You need someone.
Sometimes you have to. Yeah. And I actually
And
vented today
it should not
about
be
chargebacks.
your staff.
No,
Even if
God,
there's,
no. Yeah.
yeah,
One of the things about having a business partner that
partner.
was really great is that we could just get on the phone and be like, can you believe this? Because
Yes.
we're the same level and we could
Yeah,
do that with each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Yeah. You
Um,
can vent in our community. Join
that's
our
right.
Yes,
Facebook group
That's right.
and you can freaking vent. I vented
correct.
today to some fellow studio owners about chargebacks. And I said, I just have to fucking vent.
Yeah.
This is such bullshit. Anyway, ending on a sad
Yes.
note. Uh, is that a wrap?
I think that's, oh, and just one final thing. That's another thing that a coach, purpose a coach serves. We are also here
Oh, hell
to help
yeah.
forget. Hell yeah. Hell to the yeah.
Love a good vent.
Love a good vent.
And you don't have to say
Um,
you're
Yeah.
sorry afterwards.
and you don't
Like,
have to say it yet because
No.
we've been there, done that. I think that's a
Yep.
wrap.
Big time. Big time. Okay, that's a wrap on this week's Weekly Roundup. Tune in every Friday and make sure you subscribe to Studio Cult TV on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from.
And
See
this
you
is
next
also,
week.
no, this is
Oh,
also a wrap
for the
for
year.
2025.
that's right. We will not see you next
We
week.
will not see
Don't
you next
expect
week.
us.
This is a wrap. I'm looking at our calendar and I think this is
We'll see
because
you next year.
year. Holy
See you next year.
smokes. Next year. And next year is what? 2026. I got to do this. Is year of what animal?
The horse, my
It's
year.
the horse. Is
It's
it
a
your year?
horse.
The year of
Yep,
the
I'm a
horse.
horse. Mm-hmm. Yep,
All
very
right.
exciting. All
Very
right.
exciting. Year of the horse next year. We'll see you in the year of the horse.
See you there. Bye.
Wow.